Hello and welcome back. If you're enjoying our journey through history, please hit that like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss a single chapter. Tell me, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? Now let's step back deep into a London that feels both familiar and utterly alien. The year isn't quite the present, is it? It's 1888, late autumn. Gas lamps flicker, casting long, dancing shadows on rain-slicked cobbled streets, the air heavy with damp and coal smoke. You push open a heavy, unassuming door, the sort that begs to be ignored by the respectable, and step from the chill of the street into a different kind of warmth. It's thick, this air, almost viscous, heavy with something sweet and sickly, like burnt sugar mixed with old, forgotten flowers. This isn't your usual noisy pub or bustling coffee house. No, this is a different kind of solace altogether. The room is low-ceilinged, awash in a perpetual twilight where shadows cling to corners like forgotten secrets. A few figures lie sprawled on worn divans, their faces indistinct in the gloom, their breathing slow and shallow, almost imperceptible. You can just about make out the intricate, faded patterns on the rugs underfoot, the once vibrant colors now muted by age, and a fine, ever-present layer of dust. A slight, silent man, his movements fluid as smoke, gestures towards an empty space. You find yourself sinking onto a plush, velvet cushion, surprisingly soft, yet bearing the unmistakable, lingering scent of countless others who have sought refuge here before. The cool fabric feels surprisingly pleasant against your cheek as you lean back, your gaze drawn irresistibly to the tiny, flickering flame of a small oil lamp nearby. He places a pipe in your hand, its long, smooth stem cool to the touch, the bowl small and dark. You watch captivated as he meticulously manipulates a small, dark pellet over the flame, turning it slowly until it softens, glistening like freshly melted tar. The aroma intensifies, pulling you in deeper, a strange, intoxicating blend of exotic spices and something faintly reminiscent of decay. He nods, a silent invitation that feels both gentle and entirely compelling. You bring the mouthpiece to your lips, the well-worn wood warm from his previous touch. You draw in a slow, deliberate breath, tasting something earthy, vaguely floral, then a sharp, almost metallic bitterness. It coats your tongue, warms your throat, and then a long, slow sigh escapes you, a profound release you didn't even realize you were holding back. A delicate, spreading warmth unfurls within you, starting somewhere deep behind your eyes, then spreading outwards like ink in water, reaching every limb, every nerve. The heavy air of the room seems to thin, the distant murmur of voices fading into a soft, indistinct hum like bees in a far-off garden. Your limbs feel lighter, almost buoyant, as if the insistent pull of gravity has momentarily lessened its relentless grip. The hard edges of the room blur, the shadows softening into a comforting, indistinct haze. You find your thoughts beginning to truly drift, detaching themselves from the gnawing worries and everyday strains that brought you here in the first place. Time itself feels less insistent, losing its sharp, demanding edges. There's just this moment, this singular dissolving now. It's a strange and quiet surrender, a gentle slipping away, and for a fleeting, profound instant you truly understand the ancient, compelling allure of forgetting. It's an odd thing, this intricate dance between the conscious mind and whatever we choose to feed it, isn't it? The subtle, desperate ways we seek to outrun ourselves, to quiet the relentless clamor, even if just for a little while. The sweet, cloying residue of the pipe lingers on your tongue, even now, hours later. You find yourself back on the street, the gaslight glow less mysterious, more stark and yellow. A thin, cold mist has rolled in from the Thames, clinging to your coat, biting at your exposed skin. The clamour of horses' hooves on the cobbles, the insistent cries of a newspaper boy, the distant, mournful wail of a factory whistle, they all crash around you, suddenly sharp, almost painful after the muffled velvet hush of the den. Your steps feel strangely heavy, yet your mind still drifts, a peculiar disconnect between your body and your thoughts. It's as if a fine, gossamer veil has been placed between you and the ordinary world, dulling its edges, making everything feel a fraction less real, less urgent. You glance back at the unassuming door you exited, now just another dark rectangle in a row of brickwork. But it isn't just a door anymore, is it? It's a memory, a warm, beckoning silence in the heart of the relentless city. A strange current seems to pull at you, a subtle, almost imperceptible whisper of comfort, even as your teeth chatter from the biting cold. As you walk, the images from your fleeting dream state flicker at the periphery of your vision, impossible colors, sounds that defied logic, a profound, serene stillness you hadn't known you were craving until it washed over you. That sense of burdens lifted, of time suspended, it clings to you, a gentle phantom limb. You catch your reflection in a shop window, your eyes seem a touch too wide, a touch too distant. The hurried, preoccupied faces of passers-by seem to rush past without truly seeing you, or perhaps without truly being seen by you. There's a certain weightlessness to your stride, but also a new kind of emptiness, a vague unease that wasn't there before. You pass a street vendor hawking roasted chestnuts, the warm, nutty aroma briefly cutting through the damp air, a fleeting anchor to the present. But even that feels dulled, its immediacy softened by the memory of that other, more profound sensation. That quiet warmth, that gentle surrender, now seems like a distant shore you've glimpsed, a place your mind still yearns to return to. It's not a craving, not yet, but a persistent echo, a low thrum beneath the surface of your consciousness. The world outside the den now feels a little too loud, a little too coarse, and you find yourself wondering when, not if, you might just find yourself pushing that quiet door open again. It's remarkable, isn't it, how a moment of profound escape can reshape the ordinary, making reality itself feel like the stranger, the less appealing option. How easily a fleeting comfort can become a quiet, insistent promise. You push open that heavy, familiar door and the world outside, with its persistent drizzle and the distant clatter of a passing hansom cab, just recedes. It's an instant transformation. The air inside hits you, not with the initial shock of novelty, but with the well-recognized, almost comforting scent of burnt sugar, exotic spices, and something else now, a deeper, muskier undertone like old velvet and forgotten dreams. It's the smell of this specific kind of sweet decay, and for a fleeting second it feels like coming home. The low light inside, perpetually muted by the thick, sweet haze, seems even more inviting tonight. Your eyes, accustomed now to the dimness, pick out more details. The threadbare patterns on the carpets beneath your boots, the glint of lamplight on tarnished brass trays, the way the smoke curls and drifts, forming ephemeral, ghost-like shapes near the ceiling. You see the usual figures, a few sprawled on the divans, their faces serene in unconsciousness, others still tending their pipes, their eyes half closed, mouths slightly agape. No one truly looks at you, no one truly acknowledges your presence, and that anonymity, that absolute lack of expectation, is a part of the draw, isn't it? It's a liberation in itself. You find your customary spot, the one that's now subtly molded to your frame, a slight depression in the velvet where you instinctively settle. The cushion yields with a soft sigh, and the cool touch of the fabric against your skin is a welcome, almost sensual ritual. The silent attendant, a shadow among shadows, approaches without a sound, a new pipe already prepared, its stem surprisingly heavy, dense, a solid anchor in your hand. He presents the small, dark pellet on the end of a long needle, holding it expertly over the lamp's flame. You watch the familiar alchemy, the way the solid mass slowly softens, bubbling, glistening, transforming into a thick, dark syrup that clings to the metal. The aroma, as it cooks, is sharper this time, more potent, pulling you in with an almost physical force. He nods and you bring the pipe to your lips. The mouthpiece is warm, tasting faintly of the previous smoke, a composite of every shared, silent escape. You draw in deeply, slowly, filling your lungs with that intoxicating, heavy air. There's the familiar earthy bitterness, a hint of something floral, then that profound, spreading warmth. It's a tide, isn't it? Rising from your chest, washing over you, dissolving the knots in your shoulders, unclenching your jaw. The insistent hum of the city outside, the weight of your own thoughts, the worries clinging to your mind, they all just loosen their grip. This time, as the veil descends, you notice the subtle shift in your perception. The muted colors of the room seem to deepen, to gain a richer, more profound hue, yet at the same time, everything feels softer, less defined. The faces around you, once indistinct, now seem to hold a deeper, more profound stillness, a shared, silent understanding. It's not just an escape now, it's a recognition. You're part of this silent communion, floating together on a gentle, dark current. The external world, with its demands and its disappointments, has no purchase here. You are utterly, beautifully, completely unburdened. And the small part of you that wonders about the eventual cost, that tiny flicker of apprehension, it simply fades, dissolves into the encompassing, sweet nothingness. It's truly fascinating, isn't it, how the very act of seeking oblivion can reveal a peculiar sort of understanding. How in shedding the conscious burden of self, you might just find a strange, fleeting sense of belonging. The persistent chill of the outside world feels even more distant now, an alien memory barely touching the edges of your awareness. Here in the heart of the den, the air itself feels like a soft, living blanket, warm and thick with that familiar sweet perfume of opium smoke. You're settled deeper into the plush velvet, your body feeling impossibly heavy, yet simultaneously light, as if gravity's hold on you has slackened to a mere suggestion. Your eyelids feel weighted, yet your inner vision is vibrant, swirling with colors that have no name, shifting forms that defy logic. You become aware not just of yourself, but of the other figures scattered around the room. They are no longer mere indistinct shapes in the gloom, they are presences. A silent collective, each on their own journey, yet bound together by the shared air, the shared ritual. You glance across the low table, your gaze catching the hazy outline of another person, similarly reclined, a wisp of smoke curling from their pipe mirroring your own. There's no eye contact, no overt acknowledgement, but a profound, unspoken understanding seems to pass between you. A mutual nod, not of the head, but of the very core of your being, recognizing a shared path into oblivion. The distant sounds of London, the rumble of carriages, the cries of street vendors are utterly gone now, replaced by a deep, resonant silence that pulses with the slow, almost ceremonial breathing of those around you. It's a rhythm, a collective heartbeat in the haze. You can almost feel the gentle rise and fall of chests, the subtle movements of limbs, all harmonizing in this quiet, shared space. The small lamps glow with a soft, warm intensity, each a tiny sun in the swirling nebula of smoke, illuminating a face here, a hand there, revealing the peaceful, unlined expressions of profound detachment. These faces, etched by the anxieties of the outside world, are now smoothed by the same balm that flows through your own veins. You take another slow, deliberate draw from your pipe, the warmth spreading instantly, dissolving any stray remnants of thought or worry. The feeling isn't one of isolation despite the lack of conversation. Instead, it's a strange, profound communion. You are alone, yes, within the confines of your own dreaming mind, but you are also inextricably part of this silent congregation, this brotherhood of smoke. Each breath shared, each exhalation adding to the collective cloud, a tangible representation of shared surrender. There's a certain comfort in this anonymity, in knowing that for this precious suspended time, no one asks anything of you, no one judges, no one expects. You simply exist together in the liminal space between waking and dreaming. It's a peculiar kind of fellowship, isn't it? The most profound connections sometimes forged not through words, but through a shared silence, a mutual journey into the depths of unreality, seeking the same solace from the relentless grind of existence. The familiar scent of beeswax and dried roses, usually so comforting in your own drawing room, feels strangely muted tonight. It struggles against a subtle yet persistent medicinal tang, a bittersweet promise that seems to coat the back of your tongue even before you've taken a drop. The heavy velvet curtains are drawn against the biting London chill, a roaring fire crackles cheerily in the polished grate, and the soft glow of gas lamps illuminates the room, catching the glint of crystal and the deep sheen of mahogany. This isn't the shadowy, exotic anonymity of a limehouse den. This is your own sanctuary, a place of carefully maintained respectability, yet the need that brings you here is precisely the same. You settle onto the worn armchair, the velvet plush and yielding beneath you, a stark contrast to the rougher cushions of the Opium house. On the small, ornate side table, a delicate crystal decanter gleams, its dark, ruby-red liquid catching the light like captured wine. Beside it, a small silver spoon rests on a lace doily. Your hand trembles just slightly as you reach for the decanter, your fingers brushing against the cool, etched glass. There's a quiet dignity to this ritual, an almost clinical precision that belies the potent relief it offers. No silent attendant here, just the hushed ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall, a constant, gentle reminder of passing time. You pour a careful measure onto the spoon, the liquid viscous and gleaming. You lift it to your lips. The initial taste is profoundly bitter, a metallic, wine-like tang that makes you grimace involuntarily, quickly followed by an almost sickening sweetness that coats your mouth, clinging to your tongue. It's a taste that signifies both discomfort and deep anticipation. You swallow, feeling the liquid's warmth trace a slow path down your throat, a quiet fire spreading outwards. The effect is different from the pipe, less immediate, more insidious. It doesn't plunge you into a swirling dreamscape, but rather wraps you in a profound, velvety dullness. The sharp edges of the room, the intricate patterns on the wallpaper, the very thoughts that had been circling relentlessly in your mind, they don't vanish, not entirely, but they recede, softening, blurring into a distant hum. The fire's lively crackle becomes a gentle murmur, the ticking clock a barely perceptible whisper. You find yourself leaning back deeper into the armchair, your limbs growing heavy, yet pleasantly so, anchored to the present, yet simultaneously floating free. The anxieties that clawed at your waking mind, the societal expectations, the private sorrows, they are still there somewhere, but now they are muffled, cloaked in a thick, insulating layer. It's like watching a storm from behind a pane of frosted glass. You know it rages, but its fury cannot touch you. There's a strange, quiet victory in this domestic oblivion, this respectable surrender. It's truly a testament to the human spirit, isn't it? The sheer inventiveness in finding new, sometimes dangerous, ways to escape, even when surrounded by the comforts of home. The desperate lengths to which we go to quiet the incessant clamour of our own minds, even if it means dulling the world to do it. The morning light, thin and watery, filters through the heavy curtains of your bedroom, a stark contrast to the cosy dimness of last night. A faint, almost sickly sweetness lingers on your tongue, a persistent reminder of the ruby-red liquid consumed. Your head feels surprisingly clear yet strangely detached, as if your thoughts are operating behind a pane of frosted glass. A dull ache throbs gently behind your eyes, a familiar, almost constant companion to these mornings. Your maid, quiet as a mouse, bustles about, drawing back the curtains fully, letting in the full, unforgiving light. The chill of the room bites at your exposed skin, and you suppress a shiver that feels more internal than physical. Today, like every day, demands a performance. The tight lacing of the stays, the rustle of petticoats, the heavy silk of your gown, each layer a testament to the respectable facade you must present. You feel the corset tighten, compressing your ribs, a familiar discomfort that you greet with a quiet, resigned sigh. Your reflection in the polished wardrobe mirror shows a woman composed, poised, yet your eyes hold a certain vacant stillness, a quiet desperation that the fine fabrics and meticulous coiffure cannot quite conceal. The small, carefully arranged breakfast awaits you in the dining room. You pick at a piece of toast, the tea lukewarm, its flavor muted by that lingering, bittersweet taste. The mundane details of the household budget, the social calls to be paid, the endless, stifling expectations of your station, they swirl around you, demanding attention, but the subtle veil of the laudanum allows them to remain at a distance, a muffled clamor that never quite breaks through. You nod politely, offer a gentle smile when required, your movements graceful, almost languid, no one suspects. They only see the delicate, perhaps slightly unwell, lady of the house, prone to nerves and vapors, a common and almost expected affliction for women of your sensitive constitution. The afternoon unfolds, a blur of polite conversation and meticulous needlework. Your hands busy, your mind elsewhere, a quiet island in a sea of domesticity. The dull ache behind your eyes persists, a subtle anchor to the reality you've chosen to blur. You find yourself anticipating the evening, not with eagerness for social engagements, but with a quiet, private longing for the decanter, for the moment when the world will once again recede into a manageable hum. It's an exhausting act, isn't it, to appear perfectly composed, perfectly civilized, while quietly, internally seeking solace from the very life you are expected to embody. The quiet struggle beneath the layers of silk and lace, the desperate need for a different kind of quiet. The sweet, cloying aroma of the opium, usually a harbinger of gentle escape, has twisted into something foul and metallic on your tongue. It tastes like rust and old, forgotten flowers. You find yourself adrift, caught somewhere between a heavy leaden paralysis and a chilling hyper-awareness. The velvet cushion beneath you has transformed. It's now a damp, cold slab pressing against your back, holding you captive. A low, insistent hum resonates in your ears, not the gentle buzz of fading consciousness, but a deep, vibrating drone that feels as if it's emanating from deep within your own skull, growing louder, more frantic, with every passing second. Your eyes, though heavy, are forced open, but the familiar shadows of the den are gone. Instead, you're submerged in a vast, echoing darkness, punctuated by grotesque, shifting forms. These aren't the comforting blurs of a pleasant dream. They are razor-sharp outlines, figures that writhe and contort just beyond the reach of your full comprehension. You see flashes of gaunt faces, their eyes hollow, their mouths stretched into silent, mocking grimaces. They seem to be watching you, their forms coalescing from the black, only to dissolve into the deeper gloom when you try to focus. A cold sweat breaks out across your forehead, tracing a clammy path down your temples, and the air around you, once thick and warm, now feels suffocatingly cold, heavy with a damp, earthy smell like a newly dug grave. You try to move, to call out, to wrench yourself from this horrifying tableau, but your limbs are impossibly heavy, bound by unseen chains. Your chest heaves, but no sound escapes your constricted throat. The insistent hum intensifies, becoming a cacophony of whispers, 1,000 indistinct voices chattering just at the edge of hearing, each one laced with an ancient, malevolent glee. It's as if the very air is alive with unseen, malevolent presences pressing in on you, studying you with an unnerving, patient cruelty. The desire for the blissful oblivion of the pipe is now a distant, mocking memory, replaced by a desperate, clawing need to simply wake, to return to the grey, dull reality you once sought to escape. A colossal, shadowy hand seems to reach out from the deepest part of the darkness, its fingers long and skeletal, stretching towards you with an unnatural slowness that prolongs the terror. You can feel the icy dread radiating from it, a cold tendril that touches your very soul. Your breath catches, ragged and sharp, yet still silent. The faces in the dark seem to press closer, their silent laughter echoing the hum in your head, their joy a stark contrast to your burgeoning panic. This isn't the gentle drift, this is a relentless, suffocating descent, and you are utterly, terrifyingly alone within it. It's a chilling reminder, isn't it, that even in the deepest dives for solace, the mind can sometimes conjure its own, more profound and far more terrifying prisons. That true escape might just be an illusion, and the darkness you seek to quiet can, in turn, find a voice far more unsettling than any waking anxiety. The raw, metallic taste of fear still coats your mouth, sharp and acrid, even as the cold, unforgiving reality of morning slowly seeps into the room. You're no longer adrift in that echoing darkness, but the sensation of being watched, of those skeletal hands reaching, feels as real as the clammy sweat still clinging to your skin. Your head throbs, a dull, insistent drumbeat behind your eyes, a stark counterpoint to the terrifying cacophony of whispers that still echo faintly in your memory. The thin dawn light filtering through the grime of your attic window seems weak and pale, struggling to dispel the psychological shadows that cling to every corner of the cramped space. Your fingers, cold and slightly stiff, reach for the rumpled sheets, pulling yourself upright. The wooden floorboards feel rough and cold under your bare feet as you push yourself to stand, a wave of dizziness washing over you, making the small room tilt precariously. You catch yourself on the rickety writing desk, its surface littered with discarded papers, empty inkwells, and the faint, dusty scent of stale tobacco and spent inspiration. Your gaze falls on the blank parchment, pristine and unforgiving, waiting. But the thoughts that usually flood your mind, seeking release onto the page, are now distorted, fractured by the night's terror. The images from the nightmare flash before your inner eye, the gaunt faces, the endless dark, the profound, unmoving paralysis. It's a torment, an insistent, clawing need to capture the horror before it dissolves entirely, to wrestle it into some tangible form. You find your favorite pen, its familiar weight a small comfort in your trembling hand. Dipping it into the inkwell, the black liquid seems to swirl with an ominous depth, reflecting the still-present gloom of your mind. As the nib touches the paper, the initial stroke feels hesitant, clumsy, struggling to translate the sheer, visceral terror onto the pristine surface. Words come, but they feel inadequate, pale shadows of the vibrant, horrifying truth. You write of formless dread, of chilling stillness, of a silence that screams. Your hand moves faster, driven by a desperate urgency, the pen scratching furiously across the page, leaving a trail of dark, furious marks. The ink feels cool, almost alive as it forms the shapes of your fear. You glance up, a tremor running through you, convinced for a moment that one of those spectral faces is coalescing in the furthest, darkest corner of the room, a phantom born from the very words you are committing to paper. The air itself seems to prickle with unseen eyes, watching your frantic endeavor. You lean back, exhausted, the page now a chaotic tapestry of frantic lines and half-formed verses, a desperate attempt to exorcise the phantoms that still linger. But as you stare at the ink-stained parchment, you realize something chilling. You haven't captured the nightmare. Instead, you've simply invited it to stay, given it a voice, etched it into the very fabric of your waking world. It's a curious thing, isn't it, how we try to tame our deepest fears by giving them form, only to find that in doing so, we might inadvertently grant them a more permanent, unsettling presence in our lives. The artist's burden, perhaps, to give beauty to the terrible, and in doing so, to forever carry a piece of that darkness within. The raw, biting stench of the London docks claws at your throat, sharper and more insistent than any winter wind. It's a harsh symphony of brine and decaying fish, of wet timber and tar, underscored by the acrid tang of industrial smoke carried on the damp air. You pull your threadbare coat tighter, but the chill, a pervasive bone-deep cold, seems to seep through every layer. Midnight here isn't just dark, it's a suffocating blackness barely pierced by the distant haloed glow of a few weak gas lamps, making the shadows stretch and dance like malevolent spirits. Your boots echo on the uneven cobblestones, each step crunching on unseen grit, the sound swallowed almost instantly by the vast, open expanse of the river. The Thames, a dark, churning ribbon, laps ceaselessly against the groaning hulls of moored ships, their masts silhouetted like skeletal fingers against the bruised, cloudy sky. A foghorn wails in the distance, a mournful, lonely cry that only amplifies the profound desolation. This isn't the mysterious, exotic lure of Limehouse, nor the hushed, respectable solace of your drawing room. This is the city's raw underbelly, exposed and unforgiving. You scan the gloom, your breath pluming in front of you, a fleeting ghost in the cold. Figures pass you by, hurried dockworkers, their faces grim and set, their shoulders hunched against the cold. A lurking shadow that might be a ruffian or just a trick of the dim light. No one meets your gaze, no one offers a glance of recognition, and in this anonymity, there's a different kind of freedom, a starker, more desperate one. Your fingers, numb with cold, clench instinctively, a desperate yearning growing within you, a silent plea for release from this brutal reality. The sheer scale of the ships, their colossal forms looming over you, makes you feel impossibly small, insignificant. You can almost taste the desperation in the air, the grinding toil, the relentless struggle for survival that permeates this place. It's a world far removed from the velvet cushions and the heady smoke, a world where suffering isn't dulled, but sharpened by the biting wind and the relentless chill. And yet there's a perverse pull to it, a stark honesty that contrasts with the veiled deceptions of your daily life. The emptiness inside you, gnawing and cold, screams louder here, demanding a profound escape from this stark, tangible misery. It's astonishing, isn't it, how the harshness of the tangible world can sometimes make the allure of profound, ethereal escape not just a comfort, but an absolute undeniable necessity. How the most raw and exposed places can sharpen the yearning for unreality. The relentless cold of the docks bites deeper, finding purchase through your layers of clothing, a stark contrast to the internal feverish anticipation that hums beneath your skin. The air here isn't just cold. It's thick with the metallic tang of the river, the acrid bite of coal smoke, and something else now, a faint, sweet, earthy smell barely perceptible beneath the general grime, yet unmistakable. It's the scent of promise, of oblivion carried on the damp air from distant, exotic lands. The ceaseless creak of timber, the distant clang of metal on metal, the slap of water against the wharf pilings, these are the sounds of a sprawling empire at work, even at this ungodly hour. You pull your collar higher, disappearing further into the cavernous shadows cast by a towering warehouse, its brickwork slick with condensation. Your eyes, now sharper, more accustomed to the gloom, pick out a figure lurking by a stack of crates, a silhouette, indistinct yet radiating an aura of caution. There's no greeting, no unnecessary movement. A subtle nod, barely perceptible, is all that passes between you. The clandestine nature of this exchange feels a world away from the hushed elegance of a drawing room, or even the veiled anonymity of a Limehouse den. Here everything is raw, exposed, and urgent. He gestures with his head towards a squat, unassuming wooden crate, tucked away amongst bales of cotton and barrels of salted fish. It looks utterly mundane, unremarkable, yet you know its contents carry the weight of empires, the dreams of millions, and the quiet despair of countless individuals. You approach, your heart a slow, heavy drum in your chest. The wood feels rough and cold beneath your gloved fingers, the nails holding it shut already loosened. A faint trickle of that sweet, earthy aroma escapes, a siren call in the cold night. With a practiced, silent movement, he levers open the lid just enough. You peer inside. The dull, viscous blocks of raw opium lie nestled within, dark and potent, gleaming faintly in the scant light filtering through the gloom. The smell now hits you fully, rich, intoxicating, a dense perfume that seems to coat your throat and fill your lungs. This isn't the refined product, the prepared paste for pipes, or the dissolved tincture for laudanum. This is the source, raw and unadulterated, the very essence of escape. Your hand reaches in, brushing against the cool, sticky surface of a block, a strange jolt of recognition passing through you. It feels profoundly ancient, powerful, a tangible piece of a distant world. The transaction is swift, silent. A small canvas pouch exchanges hands, the heavy thud of coins barely audible against the ambient clamor of the docks. You secure the crate, the simple act feeling like you're sealing away a secret, a profound truth. As you turn to leave, the weight of the small crate, physically heavy in your arms, feels dwarfed by the immense, almost moral weight of its contents. It's an object of commerce, yes, but also of profound human longing. It's remarkable, isn't it, how such a small, unassuming package, moved in the dead of night, can contain so much. Not just a substance, but the very essence of escape, woven into the intricate, vast web of global trade and individual desperation. A tiny, insistent wail slices through the thin walls of your cramped, damp room, tearing at the frayed edges of your already strained patience. It's not just a sound, it's a constant piercing needle prodding at your weary mind, echoing the dull ache in your own chest. The air is heavy with the scent of cheap paraffin from the lamp, stale cooking, and the pervasive, cloying dampness that seeps from the walls, chilling you to the bone. You're huddled close to the meager fire in the grate, its few smouldering coals offering more illusion of warmth than actual heat, but even that small comfort is shattered by the ceaseless, heart-trenching cries. You rise slowly, each movement a conscious effort, your joints protesting. The worn floorboards creak beneath your patched slippers as you cross the small space to the cot in the corner. There a small bundle of flannel and linen shifts restlessly, a tiny red face contorted in distress. Your child, another fit of colic, another endless night of sleepless desperation. Your eyes are heavy-lidded, shadowed by weeks, months of broken rest, a physical manifestation of a profound, gnawing exhaustion that threatens to consume you entirely. You reach out, your hand hovering for a moment, then gently touching the feverish brow, the skin surprisingly hot against your cold fingers. The cries, if anything, intensify, demanding. Your gaze falls upon the small, dark bottle on the bedside table, half hidden amongst a scattering of everyday necessities, a chipped porcelain mug, a well-thumbed Bible, a stub of a candle. It's an unassuming vessel, yet its contents hold a power far beyond its modest appearance. Laudanum, a mother's quiet, desperate friend. Your fingers, calloused from endless toil, grasp the bottle, its glass cool and smooth against your skin. You uncork it and a faint, sweet medicinal aroma wafts upwards, cutting through the damp and cooking smells, a scent that whispers of temporary peace. A small, tarnished silver spoon is next. You pour a few precise drops, the dark, reddish liquid gleaming in the flickering lamplight, a tiny, potent pool. The child's cries continue, relentless, seemingly endless. You lift the spoon carefully to the tiny, open mouth. There's a brief, almost imperceptible struggle, a reflex, a tiny gasp. Then the liquid is swallowed. A moment of taut anticipation hangs in the air, thick as the smoke from the lamp. The wails falter, catching in the small throat, then slowly, miraculously, they begin to soften. The frantic kicking subsides. The tiny, distressed face relaxes, the eyelids fluttering once, twice before closing entirely. The silence that follows is profound, almost shocking in its completeness. It's not the comfortable quiet of sleep, but a deep, unnerving stillness that feels heavy, charged with a strange, bittersweet relief. You stand there for a moment, simply listening to the absence of sound, watching the slow, even rise and fall of the tiny chest, the shallow, regular breaths. The weight on your shoulders, the relentless tension in your mind seems to loosen, a fragile temporary respite. But beneath the profound calm, a different kind of ache settles in, a quiet, insistent worry that whispers of unspoken costs, of a peace bought at a price you can't quite name. It's a harrowing thing, isn't it? The sheer, desperate lengths to which human beings can be driven, not by malice, but by an overwhelming exhaustion, by the relentless, grinding pressure of poverty and despair. And how in the quiet of a child's induced sleep, the line between care and a more profound kind of surrender becomes irrevocably blurred. The thin, pale light of morning, struggling to pierce the perpetual gloom of your single, cramped room, feels almost accusatory. The damp chill clings to the air, tasting of soot and poverty, but it's the profound, almost eerie silence that truly settles on your skin. No insistent wails, no restless whimpers, just the distant, mundane sounds of the street slowly waking up, far removed from the unnerving stillness within these four walls. You shift on your straw mattress, the rough fabric scratching faintly, and cast your gaze towards the cot. Your child lies utterly still, a tiny, pale form beneath a threadbare blanket. The previous night's frantic cries, the overwhelming exhaustion, the desperate reach for the dark bottle, it all feels like a dream, yet the empty spoon, abandoned on the chipped wooden bedside table, is a stark, undeniable witness. You push yourself up, your limbs stiffen protesting, and move closer to the cot. You lean over, your breath catching in your throat, a cold knot of dread tightening in your stomach. The small chest rises and falls almost imperceptibly, a shallow, rhythmic movement that offers a fragile reassurance. Yet the stillness is unnatural, isn't it? Too quiet, too deep for a child usually so full of fretful energy. You reach out, your fingers raw and chapped from scrubbing, gently brush against the baby's cheek. It's cool, almost cold, a temperature that sends a fleeting shiver through you, even as you rationalize it as simply the morning chill. Your heart aches with a complex tangle of emotions, the profound relief of a few hours' unbroken sleep, the gnawing worry, and a bitter, resentful understanding of the impossible choices you're forced to make. This isn't just laudanum. It's Godfrey's cordial, a commonplace remedy, a soothing syrup sold in every apothecary used by countless mothers. A necessary evil, a quiet reprieve from the relentless crushing weight of your daily life. You glance around the small room, the details of your existence pressing in. The damp patch spreading across the ceiling, the threadbare curtain barely covering the broken windowpane, the meager pile of mending waiting silently on the floor. There's no respite here, no comfort to be found in the waking world, only unending toil and the ever-present threat of hunger. A tiny, almost imperceptible sigh escapes you. The child stirs slightly, a soft, gurgling sound that is more breath than voice, and a wave of fierce, protective love washes over you, momentarily pushing back the guilt. You did what you had to do, didn't you? To survive another day, to gain the strength to simply carry on. You retreat from the cot, pulling the blanket a little higher around the tiny, still form. The stillness of the child is now the quiet counterpoint to the relentless storm within your own mind. The relief, though profound, is laced with a bitter taste of complicity, a quiet, insistent whisper that asks, at what cost this peace? It's a harrowing thing, isn't it, to see how the most profound acts of a mother's love, twisted by desperation and circumstance, can become a silent, whispered sin. How the weight of survival can blur the very lines of right and wrong, leaving behind only the haunting echo of quiet choices. A sharp, clean scent, a potent blend of antiseptic, lavender, and something faintly metallic, instantly cuts through the damp, smoky air of the street as you push open the heavy oak door. A small bell tinkles brightly overhead, a surprisingly cheerful sound that feels utterly out of place against the quiet thrum of your own anxiety. You step inside, and the cold, grey light of London gives way to a warmer, more precise illumination from strategically placed gas lamps, reflecting off rows upon rows of gleaming glass bottles, meticulously arranged on dark, polished shelves. This isn't a shadowy den of illicit pleasure, this is a temple of scientific order, a bastion of Victorian respectability. Every bottle is labelled with elegant script, every drawer perfectly aligned. The air hums with a quiet, almost reverent stillness, broken only by the soft rustle of paper from the back room. The chemist, a trim, severe-looking man with spectacles perched on his nose, emerges from behind a tall counter, his white apron pristine, his gaze sharp and assessing. He doesn't speak, not yet, but his presence fills the air with a quiet authority. You approach the long, gleaming counter, its surface cool and smooth under your fingertips. Your own reflection stares back at you from the polished wood, a face carefully composed, betraying none of the internal tremors that ripple through you. The myriad of remedies, tinctures, and potions displayed behind glass seem to mock your singular, desperate purpose. You clear your throat, the sound unexpectedly loud in the quiet space. Your voice, when it comes, is a little lower than usual, almost a whisper, yet firm enough to convey your intent. His eyes, framed by his spectacles, flick to yours, a brief, knowing spark that passes between you, an unspoken understanding. There's no judgment there, not overtly, but a quiet, almost professional recognition of your need. He turns, his movements precise and economical, reaching for a specific bottle nestled amongst the others. It's small, dark amber glass, its label discreet, almost unreadable from your vantage point. You watch him, a strange mixture of relief and trepidation coiling in your stomach. He pours a careful measure into an even smaller vial, corks it with a practiced flick of the wrist, and places it on the counter before you. The glass of the vial feels cool, almost insignificant in your palm. Yet its weight is profound, loaded with the promise of quietude, of dulled edges, of temporary escape. You offer the coins, your fingers brushing against his, a fleeting, almost electric contact that feels like a silent acknowledgement of your shared secret. He nods once, a small, almost imperceptible gesture, then turns back to his meticulous arrangements, the transaction complete, dissolved back into the orderly quiet of the shop. You step back out into the London street, the bell tinkling its cheerful farewell, and the sharp, medicinal scent of the chemist's shop, now clinging to your clothes, seems like a stark, potent reminder of the invisible battles fought behind respectable facades. It's a curious thing, isn't it, how such a potent solace can be procured with such quiet, everyday ease, a testament to the pervasive, yet often hidden human need for stillness in a world that never truly stops demanding. The small glass vial, cool and smooth against your palm, feels heavier than its size suggests, a tiny, potent secret now safely yours. The chemist, a picture of starched respectability, offers you a slight, almost imperceptible smile, a professional curve of the lips that conveys a quiet efficiency rather than warmth. There's no hint of judgment in his eyes, only a detached, almost clinical understanding as he accepts your coins. It's a transaction as commonplace as purchasing cough mixture or a patent medicine for vapors, isn't it? Yet the quiet hum beneath your own composure speaks of a far deeper, more deliberate intent. You glance down at the dark, ruby-red liquid within the vial, mesmerized by its still, viscous depth. It looks so innocuous, so clean, a far cry from the sticky, dark pellets of the opium den or the raw, earthy blocks from the docks. This is refinement, sanitized and respectable, a medicine for the polite society. You know what it is, of course, not merely a remedy for nerves or a soothing syrup, but a key, a temporary lock against the relentless clamor of the world outside, a balm for the ceaseless ache within. The very ordinariness of its purchase, the lack of furtive glances or hushed whispers, lends it a strange, almost comforting legitimacy. The lingering scent of antiseptic and lavender from the chemist's shop still clings to your clothes as you step back out onto the street. The sharp London air, a contrast to the shop's contained atmosphere, seems to snap at your face, bringing with it the familiar cacophony of clip-clopping hooves, distant shouts, and the relentless churn of city life. But now, nestled securely in your pocket, is the small vial, a promise of quietude that hums beneath the surface of the din. The world still demands, still presses in, but you carry a fragile, potent defense. You walk with a slightly lighter step, a subtle shift in your gait, as if a small, imperceptible burden has been lifted, or at least acknowledged and accounted for. This isn't the exhilarating rush of profound escape, nor the immediate, all-consuming dream state of the pipe. This is a quieter, more insidious relief, a gradual softening of the sharp edges, a dulling of the insistent anxieties. And it's sanctioned, isn't it? Packaged with care, sold with a smile, delivered with a detached professionalism that makes its potent effects feel almost proper. It's truly a peculiar thing, isn't it? How readily society provides the very means of quiet surrender, cloaked in the guise of medicine, allowing us to blur the lines between illness and mere dissatisfaction, between suffering and simply yearning for a moment of peace. The sharp tang of ink and aged parchment fills the air, mingling with the faint metallic scent of gaslight and a more subtle, almost earthy sweetness. You're hunched over your desk, the polished mahogany cool beneath your forearms, your gaze fixed on the intricate diagrams and dense Latin text spread before you. It's late, the city outside a distant, muffled hum, and the chill of the unheated study has settled deep into your bones. Frustration claws at you, a relentless parasite, as your mind grapples with a particularly intractable problem, a Gordian knot of philosophical and scientific inquiry that refuses to yield to logic. Your fingers, stiff with cold and mental fatigue, reach for the small, unassuming glass vial beside the pile of annotated notes. It's not the elaborate pipe of the Limehouse dens, nor the grand decanter of the drawing room. This is a humble, workmanlike dose, a clear, bitter liquid. You pour a precise measure onto a spoon, the light glinting off its surface, and quickly swallow, the astringent taste momentarily overwhelming the delicate flavors of the room. It's a taste of duty, of necessity, not pleasure. The initial shock of the bitterness quickly gives way to a spreading warmth, not a heavy, sedative wave, but a subtle, invigorating current that starts behind your eyes and spreads outwards, gently unclenching the tight bands of tension around your skull. The gaslight on your page, previously harsh, now softens, almost seeming to breathe. The complex equations and ancient script, once a jumble of disconnected symbols, begin to shimmer, to subtly reorder themselves in your perception. Your mind, previously a cluttered attic of half-formed ideas, suddenly feels expansive, a vast, luminous chamber where thoughts now move with effortless grace. Connections, previously obscure, snap into place with exhilarating clarity, like perfectly cut gears meshing. You pick up your pen, its familiar weight a comfort, and begin to write, the words flowing onto the page with an unprecedented fluidity, each sentence a crystalline articulation of a truth that moments ago felt entirely beyond your grasp. The very act of creation feels effortless, profound. Hours pass, or perhaps mere minutes, time itself loses its linear constraint, becoming a malleable concept. You are no longer confined to the rigid structure of the desk, the cramped study. Your mind soars, traversing continents of thought, building elaborate structures of logic, seeing patterns in the chaos of existence. The exhaustion, the frustration, the very constraints of your mortal coil, they have simply melted away, leaving only pure, unfettered intellect. The ink flows, the pages fill, each word a testament to this profound, artificial clarity. It's a peculiar bargain, isn't it? This trade of natural equilibrium for an exhilarating, albeit fleeting, peak of intellectual prowess. The human mind, ever striving for understanding, finds its own strange and potent shortcuts to perceive truth, even if the clarity comes at a cost that only tomorrow will reveal. The cold, metallic tang of stale ink and lingering despair coats your mouth, a stark counterpoint to the vibrant, expansive clarity of last night. You stir from a restless, dream-haunted sleep, the rough wool of your blanket scratching against your cheek. The gaslight from the previous evening, now long extinguished, leaves the study shrouded in a thin, watery dawn light that seems to mock the profound illumination you felt just hours ago. A dull, insistent ache throbs behind your eyes, a relentless metronome accompanying the confusing jumble of your waking thoughts. You push yourself upright, your muscles protesting, and the cold air of the study bites at your skin, sharper, more insistent than any intellectual puzzle. Your gaze falls upon the desk, now a chaotic landscape of scrawled notes, overflowing inkwells and reference books splayed open at obscure passages. This was the testament to your expanded mind, the fruit of your artificial genius. You reach for the pages, your fingers trembling slightly, a clammy film clinging to your skin. The parchment, once a canvas for brilliant insight, now feels like a cruel joke. You try to read your own frantic script, to reconstruct the labyrinthine arguments and dazzling connections that seemed so utterly clear, so undeniable in the depths of your induced state. But the words swim before your eyes, the carefully crafted phrases now disjointed, nonsensical, a bewildering tapestry of half-formed ideas and illogical leaps. The philosophical problem that had yielded its secrets so readily now seems to recoil from your touch, more impenetrable than ever. You trace a line of text with your finger, desperately searching for the thread of logic, but it's gone, dissolved into the cold light of day, leaving only a residue of frustration and a crushing sense of mental exhaustion. A sudden, sharp wave of nausea washes over you, forcing you to lean heavily against the cold mahogany. The room seems to tilt, the stacks of books blurring at the edges of your vision. The memory of last night's intense focus, the sensation of boundless intellect, now feels like a cruel phantom, a deceptive whisper from another world. You try to recall a specific insight, a particularly elegant solution that had presented itself with such undeniable truth, but it slips through your grasp, an elusive wisp of smoke, leaving behind only a hollow echo. The glorious labyrinth of your expanded mind has, in the harsh light of morning, become a bewildering, impenetrable maze of broken fragments. It's a bitter realization, isn't it? How easily the mind can be tricked into believing it holds profound truths, only for the dawn to reveal a wreckage of shattered clarity, leaving you with nothing but a headache and the chilling awareness of how easily reality can be bent, broken, and ultimately lost. The faint, persistent chill of the London night fades entirely as you step into the den, the heavy door closing softly behind you. But tonight, it's not just the familiar, cloying sweetness of opium smoke that greets you. It's a delicate, almost imperceptible warmth that radiates from the divan in the furthest, most shadowed corner. You find yourself drawn towards it, not seeking solitary oblivion but a shared journey. Here, among the usual silent figures, a familiar presence awaits, a quiet anchor in the shifting haze. You settle beside them on the worn velvet, the cushion yielding to your weight with a soft sigh. The air here feels thicker, warmer, as if imbued with the silent energy of two souls drifting in close proximity. A hand reaches out, slender fingers finding yours, interlacing gently. The touch is light yet surprisingly potent, a small grounding anchor in a world that is already beginning to soften at the edges. No words are exchanged, none are needed. A slow, shared breath. A silent acknowledgement of mutual surrender. The pipe is prepared with the usual quiet artistry, the dark pellet bubbling and softening over the lamp's flame, its intoxicating perfume rising, mingling with the subtle, intimate scent of skin and hair. This time, as you inhale that first deep draw, the bittersweet smoke feels different. It's not merely an escape for your asterisk mind, it's a shared current, a silent river flowing between you. You feel the presence beside you, a gentle pressure against your shoulder, a faint warmth radiating from their form. Your heads lean closer, almost touching, two separate consciousnesses blurring into one tranquil, expansive awareness. The world outside the soft confines of your shared divan dissolves further, faster. The other figures in the room, once distinct, now become part of the swirling, luminous mist, their existence a distant, comforting hum. You turn your head slightly, your eyes heavy-lidded and unfocused, meeting theirs. There's no sharp clarity, no defined features, just the profound, luminous pools of their gaze, reflecting a shared serenity, a mutual journey into the beautiful nothingness. You feel a gentle squeeze of their fingers around yours, a non-verbal affirmation, a silent "I am here with you." It's an intimacy forged in shared perception, a profound connection that transcends the need for spoken words, for the everyday definitions of affection. The worries and demands of the world, the individual burdens you both carry, they don't simply fade for you alone, they recede for both of you simultaneously. There's a curious beauty in this collective release, a peculiar strength found in shared vulnerability. You are adrift, yes, but you are not alone. You are floating together, tethered by a gentle touch, a shared breath, and the profound, unspoken understanding that this haze, this sweet oblivion, is a world you navigate exquisitely side by side. It's a strange revelation, isn't it? How sometimes the deepest connections aren't forged in the sharp clarity of daily life, but in the soft, dissolving edges of an altered reality, a quiet, shared surrender where two souls can truly, profoundly meet. The lingering sweetness of the opium, usually a comforting aftertaste, now feels cloying, almost sickening on your tongue. A profound, bone-deep chill has seeped into the velvet cushion, replacing the shared warmth you recall. You stir, your muscles protesting with a dull ache, and the subtle, rhythmic breathing beside you, once a harmonious counterpoint to your own, now feels distant, separate. The hazy, luminous world of shared dreams has dissolved, leaving behind the stark, grey outlines of the opium den. The low gaslight, no longer a beacon of enchantment, merely illuminates the grime on the walls, the dust motes dancing in the stale air. You turn your head slowly, your eyes heavy-lidded and reluctant to fully open, seeking the familiar presence next to you. They are there, still sprawled on the divan, their head resting against the cushion, a wisp of dark hair falling across a serene, almost too still face. Their hand, the one that had clasped yours with such gentle reassurance, now lies limp, fingers slightly curled, cool to your tentative touch. The connection, that profound, unspoken understanding, has utterly vanished, replaced by an unsettling void. A peculiar silence has descended, not the comforting quiet of shared oblivion, but a heavy, isolating stillness. You can hear the distant, muffled sounds of the city outside, a horse's hooves on cobbles, a faint, disembodied cry, each sound a sharp, unwelcome reminder of the world you had so desperately sought to escape. Your own breath feels shallow, ragged, and the space between each inhalation and exhalation seems vast, cold, a stark chasm. You feel a sudden, jarring awareness of your own solitary existence, a chilling echo after the fleeting comfort of companionship. You try to recall the exact nature of the shared dream, the particular hue of the colors, the specific curve of their smile in the haze, but the memories are elusive, dissolving like smoke. They are impressions, fragments, beautiful yet insubstantial. The weight of your own body on the cushion returns with a vengeance, grounding you painfully to the present, to the cold reality of this dim room and the profound separateness of your waking mind. You glance again at the still form beside you, searching for a sign, a flicker of that shared light, but there is only the quiet, unnerving piece of a mind still deeply adrift, leaving you stranded, utterly awake in the aftermath. It's a stark revelation, isn't it? How the most profound, ephemeral connections, those forged in the delicate unreality of escape, can shatter so completely in the harsh light of morning, leaving you with only the cold, quiet truth of your own enduring solitude. A profound, gnawing cold seizes you from the inside out, not the brisk chill of a London morning, but a deep, inescapable tremor that originates somewhere in your very core. Your teeth chatter uncontrollably, a violent, insistent rhythm that reverberates through your skull, making your jaw ache. The rough blanket, once a source of comfort, now feels abrasive against your feverish skin, unable to hold back the sudden, clammy sweats that break out, followed immediately by shivers that rack your entire frame. You're trapped in your own body, which has suddenly, brutally turned against you. The air in your cramped room, usually a familiar blend of dust and damp, now tastes metallic, sour like bile. Your stomach clenches, a violent knot that threatens to heave, forcing you to curl into a tight ball, pressing your knees against your chest in a futile attempt to alleviate the deep, visceral cramp. Every muscle in your body seems to scream in protest, a symphony of aches and spasms, from the tips of your fingers, which twitch with an uncontrollable restlessness, to the heavy, leaden ache in your legs. It's a relentless, all-consuming misery that obliterates all other thought, all other sensation. Your eyes sting, watering incessantly, making the already dim room blur into an indistinct haze. You try to focus on the familiar crack in the ceiling or the peeling wallpaper, but your gaze flickers, unable to settle. All that exists is this suffocating, internal rebellion. The quietude, the gentle drift, the expansive dreams that opium once offered, now feel like a cruel, distant taunt, a memory of a peace that sharpens the agony of the present moment. A desperate, clawing need, a physical hunger far more intense than any craving for food, begins to gnaw at the very edges of your consciousness, a silent, insistent scream for relief. You try to move, to stand, to find some position that might lessen the relentless torment, but your limbs feel heavy, unresponsive, almost alien. Each attempt is met with a renewed wave of nausea and dizzying weakness. You are utterly captive, pinned down by the sheer, overwhelming power of your own physiology. This isn't just discomfort, it's a profound betrayal, your own flesh and blood rebelling, demanding its due, demanding the quiet solace it has grown accustomed to. Every fiber of your being longs for the sweet, calming oblivion, but it is denied, leaving you to writhe in the stark, unvarnished agony of its absence. It's an astonishing, terrifying thing, isn't it? To realize that the very vessel that carries you through life can, in its quiet insistence, become your most brutal, undeniable captor, stripping away all illusions of control, leaving you utterly at its mercy. The foul, coppery taste of your own sickness coats your tongue, refusing to be washed away, even by the desperate sips of tepid water. The cold, relentless tremor still racks your body, punctuated by sudden, searing cramps that twist your gut, leaving you gasping for breath. The rough blanket, heavy with the scent of stale sweat, feels like a shroud, trapping you in this raw, visceral agony. Each breath is a conscious, effortful act, a painful reminder of your body's relentless rebellion. You manage to push yourself upright, swaying precariously as a wave of dizziness threatens to overwhelm you. The floorboards feel icy cold against your bare feet, each creak and groan of the old house amplifying the internal torment. You stumble towards the small, tarnished looking glass hanging crookedly on the wall, a desperate need to see the external manifestation of this internal catastrophe. The glass, murky with age and dust, reflects a distorted image, yet the truth it reveals is horrifyingly clear. A stranger stares back at you. Your face, usually familiar, is now gaunt, hollowed out by days of sleepless torment. Your skin is a ghastly pallor, stretched taut over prominent cheekbones, and your lips are cracked and dry, a faint, almost translucent blue. Your eyes, these are the most shocking. They are sunken deep into their sockets, bloodshot and ringed with dark, bruised shadows, staring back with an unnerving, desperate wildness, a raw terror that you barely recognize as your own. Every feature screams of deprivation, of a body pushed to its absolute breaking point. You reach out a trembling hand, your fingers skeletal, your nails brittle and discolored. You touch the cold, unyielding surface of the mirror, a desperate attempt to connect with the ravaged reflection. It's not just physical pain that etches your features, it's the profound exhaustion, the relentless craving that gnaws at your very being, twisting your thoughts into a singular, obsessive demand. The respectable facade, the comfortable anonymity, the intellectual clarity, all have been stripped away, leaving only this raw, exposed wreckage. The silence in the room is punctuated only by your ragged breathing, the violent shivers, and the frantic pounding of your own heart. A desperate guttural sound, half sob, half moan, escapes your parched throat. This isn't you, not truly. This hollow-eyed spectre in the looking glass is the cost, the grim, unvarnished truth of the bargain you struck with oblivion. The sweetness, the escape, the dreams, they were fleeting, an illusion. This raw, screaming reality, this gaunt reflection, this is what remains. It's a chilling moment, isn't it, to stare into the depths of your own reflection and find a stranger there, irrevocably altered by the very solace you sought. To realize that the masks we wear and the escapes we chase eventually reveal the indelible marks they leave upon us, etching themselves into our very flesh. The air in the factory, usually thick with the metallic tang of hot iron, the acrid bite of coal dust, and the dizzying scent of machine oil, is now strangely, unsettlingly muted. It's as if a soft, heavy blanket has been draped over your senses, dulling the relentless clamor that defines your waking hours. You can still hear the rhythmic, thunderous clang of the presses, the whine of belts, the hiss of steam, but they feel distant, less invasive, transformed into a low, ceaseless thrum that vibrates somewhere deep in your chest, a strange, hypnotic counterpoint to your own slowed heartbeat. Your fingers, calloused and raw from endless hours of feeding metal into the maw of the machines, feel strangely light, almost disconnected from your arm. The searing heat from the furnaces, which usually sears your skin and prickles your eyes, now feels like a gentle, distant warmth, a comforting hum against your face. You move with a dreamlike slowness, your body a heavy, obedient automaton, performing the same monotonous tasks you've executed 1,000 times. The foreman's shouts, usually sharp and cutting, now reach your ears as a muffled, almost benevolent rumble, their urgency lost in the haze. A small, dark lump secreted away in the pocket of your grimy apron rests against your thigh, a constant, reassuring pressure. You know it's there, its rough, earthy scent a subtle anchor in this shifting reality. This isn't the exotic luxury of a limehouse den, nor the respectable quietude of a drawing room. This is the rough, stolen solace of the factory floor, swallowed quickly, secretly, in the fleeting moments between shifts, a necessary balm against the crushing weight of relentless toil. The sharp, acrid taste of the raw opium, chewed quickly, swallowed with a gulp of cold, metallic water, lingers in your mouth, a potent echo of the release it brings. The grinding ache in your back, the burning in your shoulders, the relentless pounding in your head, these don't vanish entirely. Instead, they soften, becoming a dull, distant throb, a bearable background noise rather than an insistent scream. The grime on your hands, the sweat stinging your eyes, the endless monotony of the task, they lose their immediate sting, dissolving into a hazy, almost palatable acceptance. You are still working, still a cog in this colossal, churning machine, but your mind, your very spirit, has found a temporary refuge, a small, quiet space untouched by the relentless demands of your physical reality. It's a peculiar kind of freedom, isn't it, to be trapped within the relentless gears of industry, yet to find a profound, if fleeting, liberation within the confines of your own altered mind. A desperate, quiet rebellion against the brutal, unyielding nature of your existence. The ceaseless, grinding rumble of the factory machinery has settled into a deep, pervasive hum, no longer a violent assault on your ears, but a part of the very air you breathe. It's a rhythm that has absorbed you, pulled you in, a steady thrum in your chest that mirrors the dull pulse in your temples. The raw taste of stale metal and cold dust still lingers, but it's distant, softened, a faint ghost of a sensation against the profound dullness that has settled over your entire being. Your hands, still moving, still performing the arduous, repetitive tasks, feel less like your own and more like extensions of the machine itself, responding without conscious thought, without feeling the familiar bite of the hot iron or the rough texture of the materials. The searing heat from the furnaces, which normally brings a fresh sheen of sweat to your brow, now wraps around you like a heavy, indifferent blanket. You can see the shimmering waves of heat rising, distorting the figures of your fellow workers, but the intensity, the discomfort is muted, filtered through a thick, insulating layer. The foreman's distant shouts, the occasional clang of dropped tools, the desperate coughs of those around you, they all register as faint, unimportant echoes in a vast, empty chamber. Your eyes, though open and seemingly focused, observe the endless, repetitive motions around you with a detached, almost dreamlike quality. Time itself has ceased to be a linear progression. Moments stretch into eternities, then compress into fleeting blinks. The morning blur into afternoon, the endless identical pieces of metal pass through your hands, and the ache in your muscles, though still present, has receded to a distant, bearable throb, a quiet companion to the deeper, more profound quietude that inhabits your mind. The worries, the debts, the gnawing hunger, they are there somewhere in the periphery of your awareness, but they are submerged, held at bay by the heavy, sweet calm that flows through your veins. You are here in the deafening heart of the factory, yet you are also nowhere, lost in a private, internal world where the relentless grind of existence has no true purchase. Your body moves with an almost hypnotic automatism, your consciousness hovering just above the brutal reality of the factory floor, a silent observer rather than an active participant. There's a curious peace in this surrender, a strange freedom in becoming a mere extension of the relentless machine, your own self dissolving into its unchanging rhythm. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? That in seeking escape from the mechanical grind of life, you might inadvertently become something even more profoundly mechanized, your conscious self willingly yielding to a different, more insidious form of automation. The sharp, biting scent of horse manure and damp straw, mingled with the faint, metallic tang of gaslight, cuts through the perpetually foggy London air. You're huddled in the shadowed alcove of a narrow alleyway, your breath pluming in front of you, a fleeting ghost in the cold. From here you can clearly see the narrow, unassuming door of the Limehouse den, a dim glow bleeding from its edges, a silent beacon in the oppressive night. This isn't your destination tonight, not in the usual sense. Tonight you are merely an observer, a witness to a different kind of transaction. A sudden, sharp clip-clop of hooves on the wet cobbles announces his approach. A figure emerges from the gloom, his uniform dark against the pale gaslight, the brass buttons of his tunic gleaming faintly. It's a constable, his helmet a distinctive silhouette, his stride purposeful. He passes directly in front of the den, his eyes, if they flicker at all, are obscured by the peak of his helmet. He doesn't pause, he doesn't glance. He doesn't even slow his pace. He simply walks on, his boots echoing rhythmically into the further darkness, his presence a fleeting moment of authority that seems to deliberately disregard the obvious truth behind that plain wooden door. The air thickens with a silent tension, a palpable understanding that hangs heavy in the space between the constable's retreating figure and the quiet glow of the den. The men shuffling in and out of the establishment, their faces indistinct in the gloom, barely register his presence. They continue their hushed comings and goings, their movements unhurried, almost insolent in their calm. You can almost taste the unspoken agreement, the invisible line drawn in the fog that separates the written law from the unwritten code of the streets. Another figure steps out of the den, a man of indistinct age, his clothes shabby but clean. He glances down the street not with fear but with a weary, knowing acceptance, then quickly melts back into the shadows of the opposite side street. The sounds of the city carry on, a distant dog bark, the faint echo of a bell, the incessant drip of water from an unseen eaves, all blending into a backdrop for this quiet, almost theatrical display of non-enforcement. The constable, long gone from sight, might as well never have existed, his brief passage a mere ripple on the surface of an undisturbed pond. It's a chilling demonstration, isn't it? How the machinery of law and order can, with a mere turn of the head, a slight shift in focus, become a tacit accomplice, allowing certain realities to persist, to flourish, in the very heart of a city built on rules and regulations. The deliberate blindness, a complex dance between order and the quiet, persistent undercurrents of human need. The biting cold of the London alley seems to deepen, clinging to your very bones, even as a different kind of chill prickles your skin. The faint, sweet scent of distant opium smoke still hangs in the air, a ghost of comfort from the untouched den, but it's now violently juxtaposed by the sharp, acrid smell of fear. You're still tucked away in the shadows, a silent observer, when a sudden, sickening thud echoes from further down the alley, the sound of flesh against brick. It's followed by a desperate, strangled cry swiftly cut short, leaving a profound, unsettling silence that stretches tautly in the narrow space. The constable, the very same one who had moments ago ignored the glaring truth of the opium den, emerges from the deeper gloom, his heavy boots crunching purposefully on unseen debris. He's not alone. Pinioned against the grimy wall, his face a mask of terror, is a slight, ragged figure, his threadbare coat doing little to obscure his emaciated frame. His eyes, wide and bloodshot, plead silently as the constable's gloved hand clamps firmly around his arm, twisting it sharply. There's no discussion, no explanation, just a cold, brutal efficiency to the action. You watch, your breath caught in your throat, as the constable's other hand delves roughly into the man's pockets. A small, dark lump, unmistakably a piece of raw opium, tumbles onto the cobblestones, rolling briefly before being swiftly scooped up and pocketed by the officer. The man whimpers a pathetic, almost animal sound, his body trembling violently not just from the cold, but from the stark, unvarnished fear in his wide eyes. The constable offers no expression, his face a hard, impassive mask under the brim of his helmet. He simply tightens his grip, a silent command, and begins to march his captive back towards the glaring gaslight of the main street, a chilling tableau of justice, swiftly and arbitrarily served. The alley is left in silence once more, save for the incessant drip of condensation from a nearby pipe, but the quiet feels different now, doesn't it? It's no longer merely empty. It's weighted with the memory of that raw, terrified cry, the brutal efficiency of the arrest, and the profound, unquestionable injustice of it all. The untouched opium den, a few short paces away, glows faintly in the distance, a silent testament to the law's peculiar selective vision. It's truly a sobering sight, isn't it? How easily the instruments of order can be used not to address the root of a problem, but to simply seize the most convenient, most vulnerable target, offering a performative justice that leaves the true issues undisturbed, lurking in the shadows, awaiting their next sacrifice. A wave of sour, cloying odor, a nauseating blend of stale sweat, unwashed bodies, disinfectant, and a faint, sweet tang of unidentifiable illness hits you the moment the heavy door creaks open. It's a smell that promises only suffering, clinging to the very air you breathe. You step into the dimly lit, cavernous space of the workhouse infirmary, and the cold, unyielding chill of the outside world is replaced by a pervasive, damp cold that seems to emanate from the very stone walls, seeping deep into your bones. The first thing that truly assails you, though, isn't a sight but a sound, a symphony of suffering. Low moans, sharp coughs, the ragged, shallow breathing of the desperately ill all blend into a ceaseless, mournful chorus that fills the air. You can't help but wince, a visceral reaction to the sheer weight of human misery. Rows of narrow, iron beds stretch out into the gloom, each occupied by a pale, still figure, some stirring restlessly, others lying in a profound, almost death-like quietude. The rustle of cheap, coarse blankets, the creak of bed springs, every tiny sound is amplified, a testament to the fragile hold on life that these souls possess. Your gaze sweeps across the room, taking in the gaunt faces, the hollow eyes, the skin stretched taut over prominent bones. These are not the serene, dreaming faces of the opium den, nor the troubled but composed visages of polite society. These are faces etched by chronic pain, by unrelenting hunger, by the profound indignity of their final days. A nurse, her uniform drab and practical, moves with a weary efficiency between the beds, her footsteps soft on the bare stone floor, a fleeting shadow against the flickering gas lamps. She offers no comfort, no words, just a precise, almost mechanical tending to the endless needs. You find yourself drawn towards a particular bed, where a man, his face a roadmap of suffering, writhes restlessly, his groans low and persistent. His hands, gnarled and raw from a lifetime of labor, clench and unclench in a futile battle against an invisible torment. A small, dark bottle sits on the wooden bedside locker, its label obscured by grime, but its purpose is unmistakably clear. Laudanum, a meager final mercy in a place that offers little else. The nurse approaches, her movements slow, deliberate. She pours a measure onto a spoon, the dark liquid shimmering in the dim light, a tiny, potent beacon of temporary peace. He swallows it with a desperate gulp, his eyes fixed on the nurse's face, holding a fleeting, profound gratitude. The groans slowly soften, quieten, then recede into a shallow, ragged breathing, a temporary truce. A brief, welcome silence in the ongoing battle against pain. You stand there, a silent witness to this small daily ritual, the raw reality of it pressing in on you, a stark counterpoint to the velvet cushions and the heady smoke. It's a harrowing thing, isn't it, to see the profound desperation of those whose only escape, whose only mercy comes in such a small, measured dose, in a place stripped bare of all illusion, leaving only the stark, unvarnished truth of human suffering and the temporary solace that can be bought for a few moments of quiet. The pervasive, sour odor of sickness, of unwashed linens and the faint, sweet scent of countless desperate doses still clings to you, a cold, unwelcome phantom even as you try to shake it off. The workhouse infirmary with its endless rows of suffering remains etched into your senses. The distant, mournful chorus of coughs and whimpers continues, a low thrum beneath the surface of your own thoughts, an insistent reminder of the profound, unending misery that pervades this place. The meager light from the gas lamps barely pushes back the gloom, casting long, wavering shadows that seem to dance with the suffering, making the already grim surroundings feel even more desolate. You observe the attending physician, a man whose face is etched with a weariness that goes beyond simple fatigue, a profound resignation. He moves with a quiet, almost ritualistic precision from bed to bed, his black bag, made of worn leather, holding the sum total of his limited arsenal. You watch him peer into dull, unresponsive eyes, press a hand against a fevered brow, or listen with a wooden stethoscope, its cold bell pressed against a rasping chest. His brow furrows, a fleeting shadow of frustration passing over his features as he finds no new answer, no miraculous cure for the myriad of afflictions that plague these broken bodies. His tools are few. A glass vial containing some bitter-smelling concoction, a small packet of powders, and always tucked away with careful resignation, a larger bottle of laudanum. You see him pause at a bed where a young woman, her face disturbingly pale, is racked by a violent, hacking cough that tears through her frail frame. Her hands clutch desperately at the coarse blankets, her body convulsing with each spasm. The doctor watches, his expression devoid of hope, only a profound, empathetic despair. He gestures to the nurse who approaches with that familiar dark bottle. There's no complex diagnosis, no innovative treatment, just the same simple, potent palliative. He pours a generous measure into a spoon, the dark liquid shimmering like a captured tear in the dim light. He places the spoon to her trembling lips, and she swallows it with a choked, desperate gratitude. A few moments pass, stretched taut with unspoken expectation. The coughs gradually subside, becoming shallower, less violent. The frantic tension in her body slowly eases, her face softening into a fragile, unnatural stillness. Her eyes, which moments ago held such raw terror, now glaze over, distant, lost in a sudden, quiet haze. It's not a cure you've witnessed, is it? It's merely a reprieve. A temporary silencing of the body's insistent screams, a brief, blessed cessation of physical agony. The doctor nods once, his eyes meeting yours across the beds, a fleeting, weary understanding passing between you. His gaze holds the bitter truth. This is the best they can do. This potent, unassuming fluid, capable of dulling the sharp edges of pain, is often the beginning and end of their available treatment. The air thickens with this unspoken knowledge. The endless groans continue, a constant background hum of existence, yet for that one young woman for a few precious hours there will be silence. You turn to leave, the cold stone floor unforgiving beneath your feet, the pervasive smell of sickness clinging to your clothes. The true impotence of this era's medicine, its stark limitations in the face of such overwhelming suffering, becomes horrifyingly clear. All the knowledge, all the care, often culminates in nothing more than a quiet, chemically induced oblivion. It's a deeply unsettling truth, isn't it, to realize that in an age of such rapid progress, such fervent belief in human ingenuity, the most profound solace offered to the suffering might simply be a profound, temporary forgetting, a testament to the sheer, overwhelming power of pain when true healing remains tragically out of reach. The sweet, familiar scent of the opium, usually a soothing balm, now feels thick, cloying like stale stage blood. It tastes of metallic decay on your tongue, clinging stubbornly. You are no longer on the velvet cushion, but suspended somewhere dark, vast, and strangely resonant, as if you've been dropped onto an immense, empty theatre stage. A single, unseen spotlight pins you, its heat a searing pressure on your skin, while the edges of your vision dissolve into an absolute velvety blackness. A low, guttural murmur begins, rising from the profound darkness around you, growing in intensity, a chorus of unseen voices. It's not human, not quite. It's a sound like grinding bones, like splintering wood, like distant, manic laughter. You try to move, to shield yourself, but your limbs are leaden, bound by an invisible force, your throat constricted. You are the unwilling audience, the captive star of a grotesque performance. Suddenly, towering figures coalesce from the shadows, their forms impossibly elongated, draped in tattered crimson velvets that seem to weep dark tears. Their faces are caricatures of suffering and malice, their eyes enormous black holes that bore into your very soul. They gesture with long, spider-like fingers towards invisible horrors, their silent mouths stretched in exaggerated screams that you can feel rather than hear, reverberating through your very bones. The air grows heavy, pungent with the scent of fear and something vaguely putrid, like wilting flowers in a crypt. The stage around you shifts, groans, becoming a rotating platform of impossible angles. Structures appear and disappear, dissolving into mist, then reforming into impossible architectures. A sudden, piercing shriek erupts, closer now, impossibly shrill, and you squeeze your eyes shut, desperate for escape, but the vision is branded onto the inside of your eyelids. You feel a sensation of falling, a sickening plunge into an endless abyss, even as your body remains fixed. The silence of your own fear is deafening against the theatrical clamor of this nightmare. You are caught in this infernal show, an audience of one, witness to the unraveling of everything rational and the terrifying, vibrant performance of your own deepest anxieties. It's a chilling realization, isn't it? That even the solace of oblivion can be hijacked, transformed into a stage where your deepest fears put on their most dazzling, most terrifying performance, proving that the mind's capacity for horror can sometimes eclipse even its greatest desire for peace. The sweet, cloying scent of burnt opium, usually a soothing balm, now tastes like ash and fear in your mouth, a lingering phantom of the horrors you just endured. Your eyelids feel impossibly heavy, glued shut, but the vivid, grotesque images of the Grand Guignol refuse to fade, still playing behind your eyes with terrifying clarity. You're trying to surface, to grasp at the solid edges of reality, but the velvet cushion beneath you still feels like that cold, damp slab pressing against your back, holding you captive in its lingering embrace. A low moan, half stifled, escapes your parched throat. Slowly, painfully, you force your eyes open. The dim, smoky haze of the opium den is there around you, but it's no longer a comforting veil. Instead, it feels oppressive, thick with the residue of your nightmare, making the very air heavy, almost viscous. The flickering gas lamps which once cast such soft, beckoning shadows now seem to leer, their light sickly and yellow, dancing with unseen horrors. The figures sprawled on the surrounding divans, the silent brotherhood you once found solace with, are no longer fellow travelers. They are inert, waxen effigies, their peaceful faces grotesque masks, hinting at the depths into which they've plunged, depths from which you've just clawed your way back. Your heart pounds a frantic, irregular rhythm against your ribs, a desperate drumbeat against the overwhelming quietude of the room. A cold sweat breaks out across your forehead, tracing a clammy path down your temples, chilling you to the bone. You try to sit up to push away the residual paralysis, but your limbs are stiff, unresponsive, heavy as lead. Each movement is a monumental effort, a battle against an invisible force that seems to still hold you in its grip. The metallic taste of fear of something truly vile coats your tongue, refusing to be swallowed. The silent attendant, a shadow among shadows, appears by your side, his movements as fluid and unhurried as ever. He holds out a fresh pipe, its bowl already prepared, the dark pellet glistening over the flame. The aroma, usually so enticing, now twists your stomach, a sharp, nauseating wave washing over you. You flinch, pulling back your hand, a visceral rejection of the very source of your recent torment. His eyes, dark and unreadable, betray no surprise, no judgment, merely a quiet, patient understanding. He withdraws the pipe, the small flame momentarily illuminating his impassive face, then he drifts away, dissolving back into the gloom. You are left alone again, fully awake but irrevocably changed. The subtle sweetness of the opium den, once a beckoning promise, now feels like a hollow echo, a treacherous lure. The quietude here, once so welcome, is now fraught with the echoes of silent screams, the lingering shadows of impossible figures. The escape so eagerly sought has twisted into a new kind of prison, one where the walls of reality itself feel thin, porous, constantly threatening to dissolve. You push yourself to your feet, your legs trembling, the uneven floorboards beneath your boots feeling strangely unstable, as if the ground itself might give way. The heavy door beckons, a stark portal between this tainted solace and the equally unsettling reality of the London night. But which one is the true nightmare now? It's a chilling, irreversible truth, isn't it? That sometimes, in plumbing the depths of oblivion for escape, you don't merely find a temporary solace, but permanently alter the very lens through which you perceive the world, leaving you forever searching for the solid ground beneath a constantly shifting, unsettling reality. The sharp, metallic tang of old brass and desperation hangs heavy in the air, mixing with the musty scent of forgotten treasures and despair. You push open the heavy wooden door of the pawnbroker's shop, and a small, cold brass bell above your head gives a surprisingly cheerful, yet oddly desolate, jingle. It's a sound that announces your presence, drawing the roomy gaze of the proprietor from behind his cluttered counter. The air inside is still heavy, filled with the ghosts of 1,000 untold stories, each object on display a testament to a life, a dream, a hope, bartered for fleeting survival. The shop is a labyrinth of shadowed shelves, stacked high with an eclectic mix of goods: tarnished silver, chipped porcelain, worn musical instruments, heavy, ill-fitting coats. Each item seems to hum with a quiet, sorrowful energy, a silent testament to the needs that brought them here. A single gas lamp, its flame flickering weakly, casts long, dancing shadows that make the already crowded space feel even more claustrophobic. The pawnbroker, a hunched figure with sharp, suspicious eyes, peers at you over the top of a pile of dusty ledgers, his expression unreadable yet profoundly knowing. Your hand, clammy and trembling slightly, reaches into your inner pocket, feeling the familiar weight of the object concealed within. It's a small, intricately carved silver locket, a cherished heirloom, a tangible link to a past that now feels impossibly distant, almost irrelevant in the face of your present, gnawing need. The cold metal feels shockingly heavy in your palm, its familiar curves a cruel reminder of better times, of promises now broken, of affections now outweighed by a more insistent, visceral demand. You place it on the counter, the delicate chime of the silver against the polished wood sounding impossibly loud in the hushed interior. The pawnbroker picks it up, his thick, calloused fingers turning it over, examining its delicate artistry with a detached, clinical eye. He doesn't ask its history, he doesn't need to. He sees only its value, its potential, its cold, hard worth in this economy of desperation. His gaze flickers from the locket to your face, a brief, assessing glance that seems to strip away all pretense, laying bare the profound urgency of your visit. He names a price, a sum that feels utterly insufficient, almost insulting, for an object that holds so many unspoken memories. But you nod, a quick, almost imperceptible dip of your head. There's no room for negotiation, no energy for protest. The small pile of coins he pushes across the counter feels cold and heavy in your palm, a meager recompense for the sacrifice you've just made. As you turn to leave, the brass bell above the door jingles once more, a final chilling note that resonates with the hollow echo of what you've lost and what you desperately hope to gain. It's a stark, brutal exchange, isn't it? To trade a piece of your very history, a fragment of your soul, for the fleeting promise of an hour's oblivion, a silent testament to the insidious power of a craving that consumes everything in its path. The meager warmth of the coins in your palm does little to counteract the icy grip of the London night, nor the profound, hollow ache that has settled deep in your chest. The small, ornate locket, once a familiar, comforting weight against your skin, is gone. You can almost feel its absence, a phantom limb of sentiment where a cherished piece of your family's story once lay. The paltry sum of money hard-won from the pawnbroker's cold exchange feels tainted, soiled by the desperation that forced your hand. Each jostle of a passing hansom cab, each hurried step on the wet, cobbled street seems to rattle the coins, a mocking reminder of the irreplaceable treasure you just surrendered. You pull your threadbare shawl tighter, a futile attempt to ward off both the physical chill and the profound sense of personal loss that gnaws at you. The locket, a legacy passed down through generations, a silent witness to countless family joys and sorrows, now sits behind a grimy counter, reduced to mere metal and stone. You think of the stories it held, the faces it once adorned, the delicate engravings that spoke of love and continuity. That thread, that fragile connection to those who came before you, feels abruptly severed, leaving an empty, cold space within. What will you tell the children, you wonder, when they eventually ask for their grandmother's locket, for the tangible piece of their own history? The question burns, a silent, searing shame, a weight far heavier than the coins in your hand. The coins, meant to buy another fleeting moment of oblivion, another hour of precious peace, feel like ash in your palm. This isn't just a trinket, it's a piece of your family's very soul, pawned away for a desperate reprieve, a quiet sacrifice on the altar of a gnawing need. You imagine, with a sickening certainty, the next items that will inevitably follow: the silver tea set, the embroidered linens, perhaps even the worn, leather-bound family Bible. Each object a layer peeled away, each transaction a further erosion of identity, of respectability, of everything that once defined home. The city's indifferent clamour swirls around you, but you are utterly alone in your burden, clutching the small, cold sum that feels less like sustenance and more like another link in a chain, binding you tighter to the insidious grip of your craving. It's a harrowing thing, isn't it, to trade not just an object but a piece of your history, a fragment of your heritage, for the ephemeral promise of forgetting. The chilling truth that some prices aren't just paid in coin, but in the slow, agonizing stripping away of everything that makes a life and a family feel whole. The air here is utterly different from the choking fogs of London, from the stale haze of dens or the acrid tang of factories. Here it's clean, sun-warmed, carrying a faint yet distinct earthy perfume, mingled with the subtle, sweet scent of countless flowers. You stand at the edge of a vast, undulating field, stretching further than the eye can see, bathed in the golden light of an afternoon sun. This isn't England, not anymore. This is a place of profound, almost dizzying beauty, a vibrant, living tapestry woven from an impossible colour. Before you, the field is ablaze with poppies. Thousands upon thousands of them, their petals are vibrant, almost shocking scarlet, a breathtaking crimson that pulses with an inner fire against the verdant green of their stems and leaves. They sway gently in the breeze, a silent, rustling ocean of blood-red blooms bowing and rising in a hypnotic, mesmerizing dance. You feel the warm earth beneath your boots, a fine, reddish dust clinging to the worn leather, and the gentle caress of the wind on your face, carrying with it that faint, sweet aroma that hints at something deeper, something potent, hidden beneath the deceptive beauty. You walk into the field, the poppies brushing against your legs, their delicate petals soft against your trousers, their presence surprisingly substantial. The air immediately thickens, not with smoke but with a richer, more concentrated version of that earthy sweetness, a scent that seems to permeate your very being, whispering of ancient secrets, of profound, narcotic peace. The relentless sun beats down, a heavy warmth on your shoulders, and the ceaseless, soft rustle of the poppies in the breeze creates a hypnotic, lulling sound, a million tiny whispers blending into a single, profound murmur. As you move deeper, you notice the other figures scattered sparsely throughout the field. Labourers, their faces tanned and weathered by the sun, move with a slow, deliberate rhythm between the plants. They carry small, crescent-shaped knives, their movements precise as they score the green pods, releasing tiny, viscous pearls of milky sap. You can see the precious white liquid oozing from the incisions, slowly turning dark and sticky as it oxidizes in the sun. This is the source, the raw, living heart of the oblivion you seek, harvested directly from the earth. The silence of their toil is profound, a meditative, almost reverent act of extraction. You touch a poppy pod, its surface surprisingly firm, its green skin cool and smooth beneath your fingertip. A tiny bead of that milky sap, still white and fresh, clings to your skin, smelling sharp, green and subtly sweet. You bring your finger to your lips, tasting it. It's bitter, profoundly so, but with an underlying earthy richness, a raw, potent promise that hums on your tongue. The sun feels hotter, the air heavier, and the endless swaying field of red blooms seems to pulse around you, a living, breathing testament to both profound beauty and profound, powerful addiction. It's a breathtaking yet unsettling sight, isn't it? To witness the profound, deceptive beauty of the source, to see where the raw material of dreams and forgotten sorrows truly begins its journey, woven into the very fabric of the earth, as ancient and compelling as human longing itself. The bitter, earthy taste of the poppy's raw sap still clings to your tongue, a sharp ghost against the pervasive damp and coal smoke of the London air. It's a flavour that now feels jarring, incongruous with the grey, sprawling cityscapes that stretch before you, so far removed from the sun-drenched fields of scarlet blooms. You walk the familiar, rain-slicked pavements, your boots splashing through puddles, and suddenly the ubiquitous nature of it all strikes you with a chilling clarity. A child no older than 5 is being pulled along by a weary mother, its face unnaturally pale, its eyes wide and distant. You catch a faint, sweet medicinal aroma from the cloth tucked into its hand, Godfrey's cordial, no doubt. The very essence of those distant, vibrant fields, now reduced to a quiet, insidious lullaby on these harsh streets. The grand shop windows of the chemists display rows of elegant bottles, labelled not with warnings but with promises of soothing relief, calm for nervous ladies, and restful sleep. It's openly available, a comforting friend, a polite solution to the anxieties of the age. Yet you see the subtle signs everywhere, the slightly too vacant gaze of a respectable gentleman in a hansom cab, the faint, persistent tremor in an old woman's hand as she counts her pennies, the quiet, almost invisible weariness that seems to settle around so many, offering an eerie counterpoint to the city's ceaseless clamor. That beautiful, sun-drenched field of scarlet in a distant land, so full of life, so vibrant in its natural state, has sent its potent bounty across oceans, transforming into a silent, pervasive shadow here. England's green and pleasant land now holds a different kind of poison, isn't it? One sold with a smile, consumed in polite silence, seeping into the very fabric of society, promising peace, but delivering a quiet, insidious captivity. It's a haunting truth, isn't it, that the very things we import for solace, for dreams, for relief from pain, can so easily twist into a silent, inescapable blight, reshaping a nation, one quiet dose at a time, until the vibrant source is utterly forgotten in the pervasive, dull ache of its impact. The air in the narrow alleyway is a suffocating cocktail of stale beer, damp brick, and something vaguely rotten, a harsh contrast to the crisp, clean pages of your notepad. You pull your collar higher, the thin tweed of your coat doing little to ward off the biting London chill that seeps into your bones. The distant shouts of street vendors and the perpetual rumble of traffic seem to press in, making the small, forgotten space feel both exposed and claustrophobic. Your heart thumps a nervous, insistent rhythm against your ribs, a counterpoint to the quiet tremor in your hand. You eye the unassuming wooden door, barely discernible in the encroaching twilight, a single, greasy gas lamp casting a sickly yellow halo above it. This isn't a casual visit. This is a descent, a calculated plunge into the murky depths for a story that the respectable presses of Fleet Street are ravenous for. Your notebook, tucked securely inside your coat, feels lighter than usual, almost insignificant against the heavy weight of apprehension that sits in your gut. This isn't about personal solace, it's about observation, about exposing the hidden vice that festers in the heart of the capital. Pushing open the door, the heavy, sweet scent of opium smoke washes over you, thick and cloying, a physical assault on your senses. It's an aroma that promises oblivion, yet for you it brings a sharp, unwelcome clarity. The low-lit room is just as you've read in hushed reports. Figures sprawled on divans, pipes clutched loosely in their hands, their faces rendered indistinct by the swirling haze. A silent attendant, his movements fluid as a wraith, floats between them, tending to their needs with an unnerving grace. Your presence, though conspicuously out of place, elicits no overt reaction. You are simply another shadow for now. You find an empty spot on a worn stool near the entrance, trying to blend into the tapestry of quiet desperation. The velvet cushion beneath you feels surprisingly soft, yet it hums with the unspoken stories of countless others who have sought refuge here. You pull out your notebook, your fingers fumbling slightly as you uncap your pen. The smooth, cool metal feels oddly substantial, an anchor to your purpose amidst the dissolving reality around you. You watch the figures, trying to discern patterns, expressions, the subtle nuances of their shared surrender. The silence here is profound, punctuated only by the low murmur of pipes and the occasional, almost imperceptible sigh. No one speaks, no one interacts. Each soul seems to float on their own solitary current, bound by the shared, sweet haze. You begin to jot down observations, quick, clipped phrases that attempt to capture the somber tableau. Vacant eyes, limbs lax, sweet decay. But as you write, the pervasive aroma begins its subtle work, seeping into your lungs, dulling the sharp edges of your observational intent. The figures in the smoke seem to soften, their forms less distinct, their suffering less stark. The very air seems to thicken, the pen in your hand feels heavy, and the unwavering conviction of your journalistic mission begins to waver just slightly at the edges. It's a delicate, dangerous dance, isn't it? To plunge into the heart of an experience with the intention of merely observing, only to find that the very essence of that experience begins to subtly, insidiously redefine your own perceptions. The journalist's burden, perhaps, to remain objective even as the world works to swallow you whole. The heavy, sweet aroma of opium now clings to you, permeating your clothes, your hair, even the very taste in your mouth, a constant, cloying reminder. You emerge from the den, not with the triumph of a story uncovered, but with a profound, unsettling confusion. The biting London chill that greets you on the street feels less sharp, less real than the lingering warmth that still hums beneath your skin, a phantom echo of the oblivion you, just witnessed. Your notebook, clutched tightly in your hand, feels absurdly heavy, its blank pages a stark testament to a mission unfinished, a clarity lost. The gaslight glow, usually a guide in the murky streets, seems to waver, casting long, distorted shadows that dance with an unsettling life of their own. The hurried figures of passers-by, once subjects for dispassionate observation, now blur into indistinct shapes, their faces obscured, their hurried steps sounding distant, as if moving through water. Your own footsteps feel strangely light, disconnected from the cobbled pavement, a peculiar buoyancy replacing the grounded solidity of your journalistic purpose. You try to recall the precise details you were meant to capture, the expressions of despair, the subtle gestures of the attendant, the stark reality of the addiction, but the memories are hazy, softened at the edges, dissolving like smoke. A sudden sharp wave of nausea washes over you, twisting your stomach, and you lean against the cold brick wall, your breath catching in your throat. This isn't the clean objectivity of a reporter. This is the visceral, confusing echo of an experience that has seeped into your very being. You pull out your pen, your fingers trembling slightly, and try to write, to force some semblance of coherent thought onto the waiting page. But the words are sluggish, elusive. The descriptions you'd planned to use, vacant eyes, limbs lax, sweet decay, now feel uncomfortably close, chillingly apt descriptions of your own current state. You glance at your reflection in a darkened shop window. Your eyes, usually sharp and inquisitive, now seem unfocused, a touch too wide, carrying a hint of that same distant vacancy you had set out to document. The meticulous composure of the journalist has been replaced by a subtle dishevelment, a quiet blurring of the lines. You are no longer merely observing, you are experiencing, absorbing, perhaps even reflecting, the very subject you intended to expose. The monster you sought to describe, the vice you aimed to condemn, has left its subtle, undeniable mark upon you, a quiet, insidious transformation. It's a chilling, profoundly unsettling thing, isn't it? To realize that in the act of diligently seeking to understand a darkness, you might inadvertently step across a threshold, becoming, even if just for a fleeting, terrifying moment, a part of the very landscape you once sought to merely observe. The true cost of immersion, perhaps, is a piece of your own unaltered self. The comforting aroma of roasted meats and warmed bread, usually a joyous herald of Sunday dinner, feels distant, almost unreal on your tongue. It struggles against a faint medicinal sweetness that lingers at the back of your throat, a quiet ghost of last night's solace. You're seated at the head of the polished mahogany dining table, the flickering gaslight casting a warm glow on the faces of your family, your spouse, your children, their eyes bright with innocent chatter. But the warmth feels external, a mere costume on a stage, while a profound, icy hollowness has taken root deep within your own chest. The clinking of silverware against fine china, the gentle murmur of conversation, the occasional burst of childish laughter, they reach your ears as if from a great distance, muffled and indistinct, like sounds heard through a thick pane of glass. You nod when expected, offer a polite smile that feels thin and brittle, your movements precise, almost mechanical. Yet every fiber of your being aches with a profound fatigue, a deep weariness that no amount of sleep can truly assuage. You feel like a performer, diligently playing a part, while your true self hovers somewhere above, detached, observing the charade with a weary, knowing gaze. Your hands, once capable of decisive action and tender touch, now lie inert on the tablecloth, strangely heavy. You pick at the food on your plate, pushing a piece of potato here, a sliver of beef there, but the flavors are muted, bland, offering no real pleasure. The conversation swirls around you, a vibrant tapestry of daily concerns, school triumphs, and future plans, but you are unable to truly engage. Your mind, usually a bustling thoroughfare of thoughts, is now a quiet, dusty room where only a single, persistent thought echoes. The sweet oblivion, the gentle numbing, the quiet peace that awaits you in the solitude of your drawing room. You glance at your spouse, their face alight with a story, their eyes meeting yours with an expectation you can't quite meet. A subtle flicker of concern passes through their expression, a fleeting question in their gaze, but you offer another brittle smile, a quick, reassuring gesture that means nothing. You are a ghost at your own table, a silent, unacknowledged spectre, physically present but spiritually absent, drifting somewhere between the vibrant reality of your family and the distant, beckoning haze of your private escape. The love, the connection, the joy, they are still there, tangible in the room, yet you feel an insurmountable barrier between yourself and them, a wall constructed from silence and unseen yearning. It's a harrowing thing, isn't it? To be surrounded by the warmth and life of your loved ones, yet to feel profoundly, utterly alone, separated by an invisible barrier, a quiet, insidious vice that renders you a mere shadow at your own family table. The isolation, a bitter counterpoint to the sweetness of fleeting escape. The familiar scent of your home, usually a comforting blend of beeswax and hearth smoke, now feels profoundly wrong, subtly altered by an unidentifiable layer of dust and a faint, cloying sweetness that lingers in the fabric of the curtains, the upholstery. You stir from a troubled sleep on the drawing room sofa, the heavy velvet cushion pressing against your cheek, damp with a cold sweat. The gaslight from the previous evening, still burning low, casts a sickly yellow glow, revealing details that, in this sudden, jarring clarity, feel alien, subtly shifted. Your gaze falls on the family portrait hanging above the mantelpiece. It's the one painted last spring, isn't it? But as you stare, your children's faces, once so fresh, so round with youthful energy, seem subtly leaner, their eyes a touch more knowing. Your spouse's expression, previously vibrant and engaged, now carries a faint, etched line of weariness around the eyes, a quiet resignation you hadn't noticed before. A cold, nauseating dread begins to coil in your stomach, tightening with a physical grip. You push yourself upright, your limbs stiff, your head throbbing with a dull, insistent ache. The silence in the house is profound, deeper than usual. No morning clatter from the kitchen, no childish voices rising from the nursery. A sudden, sharp memory, a fragment of a conversation you vaguely recall, mentioning next year's summer plans, now slices through the haze with terrifying clarity. Next year, but it was next year, or was it? You stumble towards the grandfather clock in the hall, its polished mahogany gleaming dully in the dim light. Its steady tick-tock, usually a comforting rhythm, now sounds like a relentless, mocking countdown. You trace the intricate hands, then your gaze drops to the small brass plaque at its base, engraved with a date. Your breath hitches a sharp, painful gasp. The number stares back, undeniable, unforgiving. A full year, a whole vibrant year of life, of family moments, of seasons passing, has simply vanished, erased from your conscious memory, replaced by a continuous hazy blur of gentle oblivion. A wave of crushing, sickening regret washes over you. A year, you've been a ghost at your own table, a phantom in your own home, not just for a night, but for what feels like an eternity. The faces in the portrait, the quiet lines of exhaustion on your spouse's face, the subtle, unwelcome maturity in your children's eyes, they are all testaments to the life that has continued without you, around you, utterly unheeding of your private, waking dream. The sweet solace of forgetting has exacted an unimaginable price, stealing not just moments of pain, but entire, irretrievable chapters of your own existence. It's a brutal, horrifying revelation, isn't it? To realize that the very escape you sought, the oblivion you embraced, has quietly, insidiously stolen the most precious commodity of all, time itself, leaving you with nothing but a bitter taste and the gaping, aching void of a year irrevocably lost. The sharp, acrid scent of cheap printer's ink, mingled with the pervasive damp and horse manure of the London street, stings your nostrils. It's a smell that speaks of urgency, of hastily printed truths, of a battle being waged with words. You're elbow deep in the bustling market crowd, the relentless clamour of hawkers and buyers a dizzying symphony around you, when a voice, clear and resonant, cuts through the din. It's a reformer standing on an upturned crate, his arm raised, a bundle of stark white pamphlets clutched in his hand. He speaks with a fiery passion, his words a torrent of condemnation against the oriental vice that poisons England's soul. His voice, ragged from shouting, carries a desperate conviction that momentarily silences the surrounding chatter, drawing a small, curious crowd. You find yourself rooted to the spot, a strange prickle of unease running down your spine. The pamphlets he holds look startlingly pristine against the grimy backdrop of the street, stark beacons of supposed truth. He hands one to you, his gaze earnest, almost pleading. The paper feels thin, rough, yet strangely charged with a nascent power. As your fingers close around it, you feel a faint, dry crackle like autumn leaves underfoot, a subtle protest from the cheaply made paper. Your eyes scan the bold, black typeface. The scourge of opium proclaims the stark headline. The words are direct, uncompromising, painting a vivid picture of ruin and degradation. You read of emaciated bodies, of vacant eyes, of shattered families and lost livelihoods. The descriptions are chillingly familiar, aren't they? They echo the very sensations, the very faces you've encountered on your own journeys into oblivion. The sweet decay of the dens, the quiet desperation of the chemist's patrons, the gaunt reflections in the looking glass, it all rushes back, stark and undeniable. A cold knot of unease tightens in your stomach. The crowd murmurs, some nodding in grim agreement, others scoffing, but you remain silent, the thin paper trembling slightly in your hand. This isn't just ink on paper. It's a call to arms, a public declaration, aimed squarely at the very thing that has, in its own insidious way, offered you solace. The reformer's voice rises again, filled with righteous anger, painting a picture of a nation brought to its knees by this silent epidemic. He speaks of laws, of morality, of the urgent need for eradication. You clench the pamphlet tighter, the cheap paper crinkling in your grip, a stark physical reminder of the uncomfortable truth it holds, and the dangerous spotlight it now casts upon your own private world. It's a strange thing, isn't it, to stand amidst the clamour of public outcry, holding a mirror to a part of your own secret life, and to feel the unsettling tremor of a world waking up slowly, painfully, to a vice that has long thrived in the shadows. The clash of public morality against private desperation, starkly articulated in a simple, crinkling piece of paper. The crude, unsettling scent of printer's ink from the pamphlet still clings to your fingers, a constant, stark reminder of the reformer's impassioned words. The frantic clamour of the market, once a mere backdrop, now feels like a physical assault, each shout, each jostle, sharpening the edge of a burgeoning panic within you. The cold, damp air of the London street, which usually bites, now feels like a suffocating shroud closing in. You clutch the pamphlet tighter, its cheap paper crinkling audibly, the stark black words on the page blurring slightly as your eyes dart from line to line. National shame, moral decay, epidemic of oblivion. The phrases, once just public rhetoric, now feel like a direct accusation, a personal indictment. You imagine the authorities, roused by such fervent calls for action, sweeping through the quiet dens, shuttering the chemists, cutting off the very supply lines of the solace you've come to depend on. A cold, visceral dread curls in your stomach, tightening with an almost painful grip. Your gaze darts nervously around, assessing the faces in the crowd. Are they looking at you? Do they know? You feel a sudden, intense scrutiny, an imagined judgment in every passing glance. The casual anonymity of the city, once a comfort, now feels like a precarious shield, ready to shatter at any moment. Your heart pounds a frantic, irregular rhythm, mirroring the sudden tremor in your hands. The pleasant fog of the past, the gentle blurring of the edges, now seems like a dangerous, exposed vulnerability. The need, usually a low thrum beneath the surface, now screams with an unprecedented urgency. It's not just for escape anymore, it's for security, for the continuation of that fragile peace, the fear of its abrupt, brutal cessation. You think of the velvet cushions, the silent attendant, the soothing warmth of the pipe, and the imagined loss is a sharp physical pain. You imagine the sudden visceral onset of withdrawal, the bone-deep cold, the screaming betrayal of the body, the very horrors the pamphlet describes as the asterisk consequences of the vice. You understand as the asterisk consequences of its absence. You push through the throng, your movements jerky, almost frantic, no longer merely observing, but driven by a burgeoning, desperate need to secure your supply. The reformer's voice, now fading into the background clamour, still echoes in your mind, a chilling prophecy of impending scarcity. The idea of a cure, of a forced sobriety, isn't a promise of freedom, it's a looming threat, a terrifying descent into unvarnished, unrelenting reality. It's a profound paradox, isn't it? That the very act of condemning a vice can, for those ensnared by it, ignite a desperate, panicked craving, turning the promise of cure into a terrifying existential threat. The chilling truth that some seek not recovery, but merely the continuation of their oblivion at any cost. The air in the den is thick and heavy, a suffocating blanket of stale, sweet opium smoke that tastes of burnt sugar and desperation. It clings to your throat, bitter and cloying, refusing to be exhaled. You're slumped on the velvet cushion, your body aching with a profound, bone-deep weariness, a hollowness that even the potent haze struggles to fill. The dim gaslight, once a comforting glow, now seems to cast long, dancing shadows that twist into grotesque, mocking forms at the periphery of your vision. The pipe in your hand feels impossibly heavy, its long stem cool against your trembling fingers. You lift it with immense effort, your arm protesting with a dull ache. Your gaze is fixed on the small, dark bowl, where a tiny, barely perceptible ember still glows, a minuscule pinprick of dying fire in the encompassing gloom. It's the last of it, isn't it? The very last remnant of solace, the final whisper of oblivion before the harsh, unyielding dawn. A cold, visceral dread coils in your stomach, tightening with each shallow breath. You draw in a slow, desperate inhalation, trying to coax the last vestiges of smoke from the burnt residue. The taste is acrid, metallic, tinged with a profound bitterness that scratches at the back of your throat. It's a taste of endings, of finality, of a well-run dry. A faint, fleeting warmth spreads through your chest, a ghost of the profound calm it once brought, but it's thin, insufficient, a mere whisper against the rising tide of internal turmoil. The figures around you, once fellow travellers in shared dreams, are now just indistinct shapes, their profound stillness feeling less like peace and more like a chilling prelude to your own impending solitude. The ember in the pipe bowl flickers, diminishes, then winks out entirely, leaving behind only a fine grey ash. The abruptness of its demise feels like a physical blow, a harsh, undeniable punctuation mark on a chapter that you desperately wish would never end. The weight in your hand suddenly feels unbearable, the empty pipe a cold, hollow reminder of what has just been consumed, what has just run out. A shiver, deep and unsettling, racks your entire frame, not from the cold, but from the sudden, stark awareness of the impending void. The soft, sweet haze of the den, once a comforting shroud, now feels like a thin, permeable membrane, and beyond it, you can already sense the relentless, clamorous reality of the outside world, waiting to crash in. The profound exhaustion, the gnawing anxiety, the persistent ache in your bones, they all rush back, sharpened, intensified by the stark contrast of their momentary absence. There's no more escape, not now. Only the cold, brutal dawn and the terrifying, unvarnished truth of a craving that has consumed everything, leaving only a hollow emptiness in its wake. It's a chilling moment, isn't it? To watch the last ember die, to feel the fragile thread of oblivion finally snap, and to realize with a sickening clarity that the very thing you sought for peace has left you more exposed, more vulnerable than ever before, utterly unprepared for the harsh light of reality. The bitter, acrid taste of burnt opium still clings to your tongue, a dry, unpleasant residue that refuses to be swallowed away. You're no longer on the velvet cushion, but somehow inexplicably you've pulled yourself upright, leaning heavily against the grimy brick wall of the alleyway, the cold, damp stones seeping through your clothes. The heavy, sweet haze of the den is behind you, its unassuming door now a dark, uninviting rectangle, silently mocking the peace it briefly offered. A thin, grey light bruised with streaks of weak yellow and pallid pink begins to bleed over the rooftops, painting the grimy London skyline with an ambiguous promise. This is dawn, but it's not the crisp, invigorating dawn of a fresh start. It's a tired, muted light, revealing the filth and squalor of the alley with unforgiving clarity. The pervasive stench of horse manure and damp refuse, the sharp bite of coal smoke, rush into your nostrils, raw and unfiltered after the dulled senses of the night. Your stomach clenches, a profound, sickening wave of nausea washing over you, leaving you weak and trembling. Your muscles ache, a deep, bone-weary protest from every joint, every limb. Your head throbs with a dull, insistent rhythm, and your eyes, heavy and bloodshot, sting with a relentless fatigue. This isn't the gentle drift of oblivion, is it? This is the harsh, unvarnished reckoning, the brutal cost of borrowed peace. The clamour of the city slowly begins to awaken, a distant bell, the rumble of an early cart, the hoarse cry of a milkman, each sound sharp, almost painful, a stark contrast to the profound silence of your recent escape. You push yourself away from the wall, your legs unsteady, feeling strangely disconnected from your body, as if you're floating a few inches above the gritty cobblestones. The cold seeps into your boots, a familiar, unwelcome sensation. You glance down at your hands, rough and stained, and they seem alien, almost skeletal, trembling slightly with a tremor that feels both internal and external. The longing, the insistent, clawing need for that sweet, numbing haze is still there, deep within you, a silent, ravenous beast stirring from its temporary slumber. As you step out of the alley and onto the main thoroughfare, the world around you is grey, relentless, utterly indifferent. The faces of early workers, drawn and tired, rush past you, their eyes vacant, their movements quick. They are not escaping, are they? They are simply enduring, living in the stark, unvarnished reality that you had so desperately, so fleetingly fled. This dawn offers no answers, no sudden clarity, only a profound, ambiguous sense of having returned to a world that feels both impossibly real and utterly drained of its colour, leaving you exposed, utterly raw and strangely untethered. It's a curious thing, isn't it, to greet a new day not with hope or renewal, but with the quiet, unsettling understanding that the freedom you sought in oblivion has merely left you more profoundly captive, forcing you to carry the weight of both worlds, the dream and the despair, into the harsh, unyielding light of a brand new, terrifyingly real dawn.